So a good way to get started with Node is through nodeschool.io. So if I go nodeschool.io, there's a tutorials button, and here's a good starting place. So npm install-g LearnYouNode, and then LearnYouNode. So npm install-g LearnYouNode. And the first time you run npm, it will probably take a while because it's got to fetch a lot of stuff. But what it's done is it's downloaded a bunch of dependencies. So it's not only included the tutorial, but all the things the tutorial needs to run. And I've installed it using the -g option, which means global. So now it's globally available. It's actually been installed into this directory if you want to find it later. So under your app data roaming, there's now an npm folder, npm modules, LearnYouNode is in there. And if I type LearnYouNode, it puts me in the tutorial. So we'll go ahead and get started. Hello world. And here's a description of the program that I'm supposed to write. So these are a bunch of challenges. It starts with a description of what I'm supposed to write, and then it gives me some hints about functionality that I need to actually write the program. And my least favorite part of these tutorials are that by default it's showing dark blue text on a black background, which for me is really hard to read. So I highlight these, doesn't really help much. But basically it's telling me how to write the program, and I just did a hello world program, so let me just do another one. Where to put this file? So I'm going to cd to my c:\/ node projects folder, and I'm going to make dir LearnYouNode and cd there. And that's where I'm going to put my files. So I'm going to use Notepad++ for this, and I'm going to save this as Node Projects LearnYouNode Hello.js. And the tutorial is asking for hello world in all caps with no exclamation point. So let me just fix my program. And save it, and then run this from LearnYouNode, verify hello.js. So it's going to run my program, and it's going to compare the actual results that my program produced to the expected results. And if they match, then my solution passes, and it will also show me the official solution. So let's just do one more. And I'm just going to type LearnYouNode again and go to the next one, which is baby steps. So this time write a program that accepts one or more numbers as command line arguments and prints the sum of those numbers to the console. And the command that you need to know for this one is the process object has an argv property. So by going process.argv, I can actually see the command line arguments. And I'm going to create a new file, and I'll save this one as sum.js. And if I go process.argv.forEach function arg, and then for each argument I log that to the command line, then I can see what's actually in this process.argv. So I'm going to run node sum.js, and right now there's just one argument, but if I add some arguments, you'll see that I get node, and then I get LearnYouNode/sum, so this one right here. So this is param 0, this is param 1, and then the rest of them, one on each line. So basically, argv sub 0, argv sub 1, argv sub 0, argv sub 1, and then I want to add 2 through the rest of them. So let's go ahead and set sum equals 0, and then instead of using process.argv.forEach, I'll have a loop variable I for I equal to I less than process.argv.length I plus plus, and then for each element I'm going to set sum plus equal process.argv sub I. But then this is a string, and in order to add it, I need to convert it to a number. So let's go ahead and set that to number of process.argv sub I. And then after the loop, console.log sum. So let's go ahead and run this. And I get 21, so 3, 6, 10, 15, 21. So I think this works. I'm going to go ahead and try it with LearnYouNode verify sum. And it passes in whatever parameters it passes in. I get the result 97, which matches, so I've passed that one as well. I do want to show you one other thing, though. So let's go back to LearnYouNode, and we'll do my first I/O. So a program that uses a single synchronous file system operation to read a file and prints the number of new lines it contains to the console. And this is introducing us to require, and it's saying var fs is require fs. So this loads a node module named fs, and then the fs value provides us with some methods that we can call. And one of them is read file sync, and takes path to file. The path of the file is going to be passed in as the first command line argument, and then we want to count the number of lines in that file. So let's go ahead and create another new file, and we'll save this as lines.js. So var fs is require fs, and then fs dot read file sync. Make sure I spelled that correctly. And then process.argv sub 2. This is going to return a buffer. And then if I want to convert the buffer to a string and then split it into individual lines, buffer.toString.split on \n. And actually in Node it's more typical to use single quotes for strings. You can still use double quotes, but most people who work in Node use single quotes. And then console.log lines.length. So let's go ahead and verify this one. So I have one extra line because if you have one new line, you end up with the first line, then a break, and then the second line. So one new line actually gives you two lines coming back. So to fix that, I just need to subtract 1 off of here. And then I can rerun my solution. And it works this time. So I'm not going to run through all the rest of the tutorials, but I encourage you to do so. Some of them are a little tricky though. You might need to consult the documentation to figure them out. They do cover all of the programming that we'll need for this lab, well, not quite all of it, but most of it. And just want to show you one other thing. So from time to time you might run into a module that uses require that isn't one of the standard modules. And so I want to show you how to install that into your project. So we already saw that you can use npm install-g with the module name to install something globally. You can also install a module just in your project. So for example, in this week's lab, we're going to use a couple of modules that aren't standard parts of Node, like MIME and multi-party and a few others. So if you want to install a module that isn't part of standard Node, you can say npm install and then just the name of the module, like MIME. And what it's done is inside of your folder, there's this node modules folder, and if we cd to node modules, type dir, here's where the new modules get installed. And inside this directory, there's a bunch of stuff that Node needs in order for the require to work. So if that's been installed correctly, let's create another one, and I'll save this as mime.js, call it mime-test.js. So var mime is require mime, and then I should be able to say console.log mime.type, and then give it a file name like hello.html. Save that, and if I say node mime test.js, I got the wrong name. Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. So let's try that again. So it's not type, it's lookup. So mime.lookup. And we find out that the MIME type for hello.html would be text/html. Let's just do one more. So hello.json. MIME type for that is application/JSON. So that's all for the tutorials. I want to show you the rest of this page really quickly. There's lots and lots of tutorials on here, and these are all third-party contributions from the community. So the quality is a little uneven, but you can start with basics of JavaScript and Node and how to use NPM and how to use Git and GitHub, WebGL, and all sorts of good things. So feel free to check them out, and if any of them look interesting to you, I encourage you to try them.